Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
大家好，我是 Bernice.
Today, in our book club section of your magazine, we're going to look today and tomorrow, a 2-day lesson, on the book whose title is The Afterwife.
哇，这是一部很棒的一本书哦。这本书呢，它的中文叫做《疗伤演算法》。它其实就在讲说呢，有一个人他已经过世的一个妻子，然后他要怎么样度过这个之后的生活。
Let's take a look now at the first section, the first 2 paragraphs. First sentence. Rachel seems to have it all. Rachel is a girl's name. Have it all is a special expression that means you're on top of the world. You're king or queen of the world. Everything you want or need, you have.
对，这个 Rachel 呢，就是我们这一本书的主要的一个主角，就是他的太太，似乎呢什么都有了，所以就像刚刚布斯老师讲的，好像是世界上的这个你是国王皇后一样，什么都拥有了啊。
At work, she is a brilliant scientist who studies robotics. Her job as a scientist, and I would also say as an engineer, because she's in a field called robotics, which makes machines that can help us do work. Not like a computer, though. Computers, thank God, don't walk around. But robotics is a study of making robots, R-O-B-O-T, which can move around. They don't necessarily look like people. But more and more, many of them do.
没错，好，我们来看一下这一个 Rachel 呢，她在工作的时候呢，她是一个非常非常聪明的一个科学家。这个 brilliant 就是非常非常的聪明。那她主要呢在研究的这个领域呢，就是跟这个机器人有关系的东西。所以呢，你也可以说她是一个工程师，不过她是专门研究机器人可以到处走来走去的这些机器人的这样的一个工程师。
So remember, we said, in this case, she has it all. At work, she is brilliant and probably makes good money, as we say, well respected and so on. But that's not all you could have in life. The next sentence tells us, at home, she has a loving family. So she's a mother, a wife, and if she has a loving family, they love her very much, and then she goes to work and they love her very much there. So we can say she has it all.
对，所以不管是在工作，在家里面，她都是受到人家爱戴的一个人。所以在家里面的时候呢，她的家人呢，当然是一个非常幸福美满的家庭。
Her husband, Aidan, is always there to support her. This is part of her loving family. Her husband helps to support her, for example. She may have to work special hours or extra time or travel for her work. Don't worry, honey, I'll take care of our daughter or the children, whatever they have. I'll make sure they get to school and are clean, and I'll cook the meals.You don't worry about that. I will support you.
所以这样的老公真是太棒了，我们都希望嫁给这样的男人，好不好？好，这样的他的先生呢，叫做艾登呢，总是在那边支持他这一切，因为我们都知道科学家他工作是不定时的，而且他也不能够这个准时下班，好，或是送儿女呢去这个上课，所以都由她老公来 take care of everything.
As Rachel's career takes off,that sounds familiar. We just had take off in another lesson. Aiden is happy to spend more and more time raising their daughter, Chloe. Now, to remind you about taking off, something which becomes popular very quickly or very useful or something very positive very quickly, it will take off. Your career can take off.At first, you have a normal job like everyone else, but if you're really good at it, you will have more opportunities, and then even more opportunities after that. So we say your career will take off, and she's lucky to have a husband who's happy to spend more time with their daughter. He loves his family very much.
所以呢，当这个 Rachel 呢，她的事业就这样子突然起飞成功的时候呢，这个先生也非常棒，他本身就很乐意，他很高兴来花这些时间来跟他们的这个女儿呢，来抚养她，来教育她，教养她。他觉得我愿意做这件事情，而且我也愿意花很多的时间在这个方面。那他们的女儿的名字呢叫 Chloe。All
right, let's take a look at the second short paragraph here. Everything seems to be going perfectly until Rachel is suddenly struck by an illness and passes away soon after. Shock. She has the perfect life. She has it all. Suddenly, she becomes very sick. A disease or other illness, an illness is a disease, or a condition. If you're struck by an illness, it happens unexpectedly and very quickly. And then she passes away. She dies soon after she had the disease. So there was little, as we say, there was little time to say goodbye.
好了，所以呢，感觉他是人生胜利组 ，OK， 每一件事情似乎都非常非常顺利，非常完美。一直到 Rachel 呢，突然间有一天呢被 struck， 我们刚刚讲就是没有意料到，突然间侵袭的 ，OK， 突然间被一个疾病给侵袭，那么呢，就因为这个疾病呢，他就很快的就过世就走了，所以呢，他的美满的生活就这样子画了一个结束了。
Idan and Chloe are shocked. Who wouldn't be? Whether she's the perfect employee or the perfect wife. They have a small child, so my guess is Rachel and her husband are in their 30s, not more than their 40s. They're still young. And to die so young when you have it all truly is a great shock.
所以对于他的先生呢，他的小孩来说，当然是非常非常震惊，因为可能他们还不是非常年纪很大的这个夫妻，所以还有一个孩子要抚养，那妈妈就这样突然有一天就不见了，所以确实很震惊。
And we finished this part of our program with the question, how will they move on without Rachel? Move on means to continue to live. Even if you cannot live as well as before, you have to keep going to school, keep going to work, taking care of the house and each other. It's very difficult after you've had one of the parents dies suddenly. It's quite a shock, and emotionally, your feeling is so sad that you might not feel like doing anything and have very negative thoughts.
所以在他们呢失去了一个好的母亲、好的太太，那这个父亲呢跟这个小孩到底要怎么样可以继续的生活？所以这个 move on 就是说呢，你要接受这个现实，然后继续的走下去你们的剩余的生活。但是这时候却已经没有这一个 Rachel 的存在了。
Okay, that finishes this section. We're going to take a short break, come back, and continue this unusual but important book.
Okay.
Welcome back. Now let's continue. This is the third paragraph. Luckily, Rachel had planned ahead. It will be good or fortunately. Rachel had planned ahead. Somehow she had planned what her family's life should be like. She didn't know she was going to die. Remember, it said she was suddenly struck by a disease. No one expected that. And yet Rachel was the kind of person who tried to prepare for anything that could happen in the future so that her family would be secure and not have to work too much or find other ways to continue to live. It's a very difficult situation, obviously. If we plan ahead, it can be simple things. Insurance. for the family, or to live in an area or live in a way that you can afford so that you can save some money. These sorts of things are planning ahead.
所以这边讲很幸运的是呢 ，Rachel 其实早就已经超前部署了，对不对？所以她早就已经把一切事情都规划好。虽然说她是突然受到这个疾病的侵袭而过世了，可是呢，她早就已经呢知道说，哎，我要替我的家人或替我的先生做一些什么样的事情，所以她已经都安排好了。
Because of her family's medical history, she knew her life could be short. Now, your family history means your father, your mother, your uncle, your aunt, your grandparents, and so on. Maybe your grandfather and your father had high blood pressure, a very common problem. She, therefore, could have high blood pressure, maybe not as a girl or teenager, but as she gets older, and if you don't control that, or if it cannot be controlled, you can die of something as simple as high blood pressure. So she realized nobody lives forever, and she planned ahead. She made plans for the future.
所以我们在讲说有一些疾病它是 some diseases seem to run in the family.
Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
Okay, 就是
perfect.
遗传啦，就是像老师刚刚讲高血压，你父亲或祖父有高血压，那你得高血压的机会基本上就是很高了。所以就是像这样，所以呢，因为呢，他的家里面的这个家族病史，所以呢 ，Rachel 早就知道他的生命可能会很短，所以这也就是为什么他会超前部署的原因了。
So, because of her knowledge that her life could be cut short, she would die younger than we would expect, certainly than she or her family would expect. She secretly, she didn't tell anybody, she created a high-tech robot. She works in robotics, so she was able to build what kind of robot? A version of herself, maybe looking very much like her. You've seen these in the movies in the last 10 or 20 years, which is called, or which she called, Rachel. I guess, is for intelligent.
Intelligent or internet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 好，所以呢，这个 Rachel 呢，她其实呢，之前呢就已经偷偷的、秘密的进行这件事情，就是她自己创造出来一个版本的这个 robot。那这个版本是一个非常高科技的这个机器人。那这个版本是她自己的一个版本，所以可能是长得很像她，或者是讲话的声音啦，或者是动作，平常做的事情很像她哈。我们等一下后面会读到，那她把它称之为 Rachel。
Okay, and let's find out what happens after our break. Okay, Rachel wanted the robot to help Aidan and Chloe get through the period following her death. She's really planning ahead. In case she died, she did not want her husband, Aidan, or her daughter, Chloe, to be without anyone to help them. And if she could reproduce herself, make another copy of herself, even though it's a robot, maybe that would help them.
所以呢 Rachel 呢，她就是想要说，为什么她要创造出这样子一个她自己版本的机器人，就是希望借由这个机器人可以帮助她的先生跟她的女儿，可以呢 get through， 就是可以度过这个时期。那这个时期是什么样的时期呢？ Following 这是一个介系词，就是 after her death， 就在她过世之后呢，他们两个人呢还是可以这样子正常的生活下去。
How did she do this? She uploaded all of her memories to Rachel. Now, I've seen movies with this kind of idea. Our brain is a library of everything that we can remember, and some things we don't even remember, but they're still filed away in our brain. And in the future, it might be possible to take all of that information and put it into a machine or into another person, if that's possible. In the book, it's possible. Remember, this is a story. And in that way, for example, if Aiden talks to the robot, Rachel, he might say, honey, do you remember the time we saw the Art Sand Festival in Fulham? And if Rachel did it correctly, then Rachel would be, oh, yes, it was wonderful. This is, remember, a fiction novel. It's a novel that is just part of an imagination, but it's based on something that is science fiction, something that may be possible in the future.
对，所以在这个科技发展的时代，你不知道什么时候有一些事情真的就从不可能变成可能了。所以呢，这个时候呢，这个 Rachel 呢，它就是 Rachel 本身，她先把她自己原本的一些记忆哈，然后先把它上传上去，传到这个机器人身上，然后呢，再给这个机器人呢一些 message。这个 message 呢，就是对于这个 message 是要留给他的先生跟他的女儿的，所以就是说，如果他们在平常互动的时候，他就会按照之前妈妈跟女儿或者是太太跟先生那个互动的模式就会出来了。
Our last sentence for this section, Rachel moves in with Aidan and Chloe. So in the beginning, after the human Rachel dies, Rachel may still be in at her office or a factory or some other place. Remember, this was done secretly. Then Aidan invites her, Rachel, I'll call you Rachel, you can come in and live with us. And Rachel has programmed Rachel to learn things from her family because there will be new experiences that would not be in Rachel's memory. And so this robot, Rachel, has to learn how to become more human. It's pretty hard to program what a human is supposed to be. And so we finish, but it's not easy at all. It sounds impossible to me.
没错，好，所以呢，这个 Rachel 最后呢，就是搬进到他们的家，跟他的先生呢，还有他的这个女儿一起住。那他主要的目的就是要学习如何成为更加像人类，因为他脑袋里面的这些记忆体呢，都是之前 Rachel 所输入他以前的一些记忆。可是呢，你要真正去跟人类相处，你才知道说，你会有一些什么样新的状况的发生。可是呢，这件事情当然一点都不容易的。
Okay, that completes our day 1 reading. Let's take a very short break, and when we come back, we have a very short review.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. We have a short review for you. We're talking about computer technology, which of course is part of robotics or the other way around. I mentioned she programmed information. The word program, P-R-O-G-R-A-M, can be used as a verb or a noun. To program something is to give instructions for a computer to operate, and those instructions become a program.
对，就是我们要在把电脑里面的东西呢，要做一些规划，做一些这个策划的时候，我们会用到动词的 program。名词的话呢，就是你可能在里面有一些什么样的节目啊，或什么样的一个计划，我们要去做一个安排，所以它也可以当名词。
We have the verb upload in the last paragraph of today's reading. Of course, there's a download too. The situation would be first, Rachel, the human, she downloads her memory, makes a copy of it, and downloads it into something. And then from that something, she can upload it into the Rachel. So they're the opposite movements of information from the source to something that can copy it, and then from that second source into another unit. In this case, a robot.
对，我们这边就是讲到这个讯息的一个传递，就是一开始呢，他先 download 他自己的一些记忆体到另外一个比如说一个机器里面或怎么样，然后再从这个机器里面再把他这个东西 upload 到他的那个机器人的身上，所以他就是有一个强调这个讯息的一个来源就对了，传递的来源。
Okay, I have a feeling you guys know a lot more than I do about robotics and computer technology.
应该是。
There's not much I can teach you about that, but as tomorrow we have some more information, of course, day 2. Please join us for that and find out what happens in this novel.
没错，我们接下来第2天来看看咯。
Bye-bye.
Bye.
第26页，好书俱乐部，疗伤演算法。
The Afterwife. Rachel seems to have it all. At work, she is a brilliant scientist who studies robotics. At home, she has a loving family. Her husband, Aiden, is always there to support her. As Rachel's career takes off, Aiden is happy to spend more and more time raising their daughter, Chloe. Everything seems to be going perfectly until Rachel is suddenly struck by an illness and passes away soon after. Aiden and Chloe are shocked. How will they move on without Rachel? Luckily, Rachel had planned ahead. Because of her family's medical history, she knew her life could be short. So she secretly created a high-tech robot version of herself, which is called iRachel. Rachel wanted the robot to help Aiden and Chloe get through the period following her death. She uploaded all of her memories to iRachel and gave the robot messages for her husband and daughter. iRachel moves in with Aiden and Chloe and tries to learn how to become more human. But it's not easy at all.